Good evening, everyone. We're back. After a long week of things, birthdays. It was my birthday yesterday. Just thought you'd know. Want to know? Yeah. Anyway, we're back with more great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last we left off, we were just recovering from our last court case when we found out that Gregsy has been murdered by none other, allegedly, than Barak Van Zykes. So let's hop back into it and visit with our old VAMPANESE friend in jail, where he belongs. I want to go talk to him first. I want him to be ashamed of what he did. Oh, Trivialize, thank you for the 14-month reset. Oh, look at him. Over there. Reading. Like this is no big issue. Ugh, even when he's in jail, he just rubs it in our face. There he is. Lord Van Zykes behind bars. So it's true. He really was arrested. He's sitting with his back to the wall, reading something. I don't think he's noticed us. Hey, Lord Zykes! Sorry if that was too loud. Justin, 117, thank you for this 35-month resub. Lord Van Zykes. Fancy anything? Oh, already starting off with a theme. Too early for a dance break, but just let's vibe for a second. Give me time to silence my phone. Fancy meeting you here. The last place on Earth I'd like to be, that the last person on Earth I'd like to see. I feel like there's one more person you don't want to see. The guy who murdered your brother. I couldn't very well not come. Shardley, thank you for the 16-month resub. I'm doing okay. I'm doing a bit better now. I'm seeing this vaunted ass in jail. We heard what happened. That Inspector Gregson was... Go home. This has nothing to do with you. But... Forgive me, Lord Van Zykes, but I must disagree. Inspector Gregson was very helpful to us on a number of occasions. We're indebted to him. At the very least, we owe it to him to find out the truth about his death. You must help us with our investigations, please! There's really nothing I can tell you. What were you just reading at the back of the cell there? Was it something related to the case? This? The Jarl isn't quite so cavalier with its information as to share case details with a suspect. This is a letter from an old acquaintance. Oh, who might that be? Someone you'll know, as it happens. Albert Hairbrain. Good morning, thank you for the 38-month reset. Of course, yes, I keep forgetting they went to the same university. And I would like to read my correspondence in peace. So let's get this over with, shall we? What is it you want to know? Strange. His theme song stopped. I mean, let's face it, Lord Van Zykes never minces his words. But they seem to have less bite than usual somehow. I would imagine being accused of murder kind of throws it through the loop. Nope, music's back. Well, what happened? Can you at least tell us your side of the story, Lord Van Zykes? What happened? How much do you already know? We know that the inspector was shot dead in a small rented room on Fresno Street. And that you were found there by the police when they arrived on the scene and immediately arrested. We were told that there was nobody else in the room, and that some witnesses heard the gunshot. Then you're well informed. And there's really nothing I can add. The truth is, I don't know what happened myself. What? The gunshot? Obviously you didn't fire the gun, did you? I'm not in the habit of shooting the people I work alongside, unlike you Nipponese. I also heard the noise, however. Before I had a chance to investigate, I was apprehended by the arriving officers. So he doesn't actually know what happened. If I might ask, what were you doing in that place to begin with? I don't need to answer that. Oh! After all, you're not representing me. He's going to need a lawyer, though. Well, then what are you gonna do to defend yourself, Zeeks? Huh? Who is going to be representing you in court, Lord Van Zykes? Anyone other than you, I should imagine. Would I be right in assuming that you have no representation as yet? Defense lawyers shy away from any trial involving the Reaper, as I'm sure you'll know. Win or lose, I'm going to kill myself! But this is different. In my career, all of the defendants I prosecuted, only 19 have ever been acquitted. Of them, 16 subsequently died in mysterious circumstances. Questions will be asked now. Surely not! I assure you, no defense lawyer will want to touch me with the end of a barge pole. But you didn't actually have anything to do with those people's death, did you? It's been 10 years now that I've been known as the Reaper of the Bailey. Believe me, nobody wants to know the true identity of this killer more than I. However, it seems things may come to a head before I have the chance to uncover the truth about that. What does he mean by that? Well, enough of that. What about that letter? After the trial, Professor Harebrained was supposed to go straight back to Germany, I thought. It's a letter to inform me of his safe arrival at home. I arranged his passage by sea and rail. It's a relief, I must say. He should now be beyond the reaches of the Reaper. Because the Reaper doesn't follow people abroad, you mean? Yes, so it seems. Your stooped little Nipponese friend, for example. You told me he was keeping well in Japan, then I inquired the other day. Yes, that's right. He's an author now, happily working in Tokyo. So Professor Harebrained is safely back in Germany now. He is. So, it appears the conversation has run dry. There was a 2-second silence, that's all. Well, in any event, if you'll excuse me now, I wouldn't like to detain you. Well, the joke's on you. You've been detained. Waka waka! I was wondering, Lord Van Zykes, if you'd like, I'd be happy to advocate for you. You trust me, do you? Yes. I've heard you speak many times in court. I've seen how you treat people. Especially Japanese people. So I'm quite sure that you would never have taken another's life. It's just, my feelings can't be used as evidence in a court of law, sadly. It's a very gracious offer. However, I trust no one. What? Not the police, not the judiciary, and not you Nipponese. But please. I have no intention of engaging your services. The chasm between us is just too wide and too deep, it seems. I'd appreciate it if you don't visit again. Then neither of us will waste any more time. Perhaps we need to dig a little deeper and find out more about Lord Van Zykes and what happened to Inspector Gregson. Later, loser! Yay, we are on the room on Fresno Street. This really is an out-of-the-way part of London. I doubt many people find their way down to this back street. So this dust-rented old room is where it happened then. There's a hairpiece over the floor over there. So this is where poor Inspector Gregson lost his life. Yes, and the police are already hard at work investigating, it seems. I don't see Mr. Sholmes anywhere, though. Perhaps his investigations have taken him elsewhere. Oi, what you think you're doing there? Every one of them doors gotta be taken right out so you can look underneath them all. I want the space above the ceiling checked, and don't forget to look inside the chimney stack too. Blimey, ain't you ever oh my god. I just can't escape Jenny. Oh, Wilson, thank you for the 500 bits. Blimey, ain't you lot ever gone over out looking for dough when the owners are out of town? Gina's obviously got some unique investigative techniques she wants everyone to adopt. Oh, so you turned up at last. Mind you, I ain't been doing it alone myself. Hello again, Gina. Shums has only just left. You're lucky you missed that. He went prancing around in here, pointing at stuff and flicking at all this and that, and then just scopping. You know what I think the problem with me is? I know she's supposed to have a Cockney accent. The whole point of her dialogue being written like that makes you intuit that in your mind. But the problem is, I have to understand just what the hell she's trying to say through the text and then speak it in the accent. And for some reason, there's just a disconnect in my brain between reading it, comprehending it, and then spitting it back out in Cockney. So, I don't know. Just thoughts I've had about Gina, and my prayers to not have her in the game anymore have not been answered. In fact, it's very apparent that she's going to be taking Gregson's place now. So we're going to continue with this farce. Oh, he's finished investigating already, you mean? Yeah, he didn't stop to say nothing to no one, not even me. Gina, would you mind if we investigated too? Listen, Otto. You're a lawyer, right? Yes, why? Well, you're not thinking of trying to help that Reaper bloke, are ya? Oh, poor Gina. She's never going to forget, is she? That trial will haunt her forever. Gina, if you don't mind me saying, if Lord Van Zykes really is responsible for this crime, he will be duly and fairly judged in court. I suppose you're right, yeah. You should probably have tried to figure out a different accent for it. That's the problem. Every time she's on screen, my accent just runs the whole gamut, doesn't it? It doesn't stay this kind of weird cockney. It goes feminine, it goes masculine. Sometimes it just goes straight up Scottish. So, yeah. I just don't like her. Go on then, Otto. Get investigating. I want to know the truth about what really happened here. Thank you, Gina. It's easier to do freaking Iris's voice than hers. Alright, well, I'm not going to talk to you if I don't have to, so let's start examining the room. First thing, the damn wig. What's this doing here? Ever since we came in here, I can't take my eyes off this thing. Oh! Funnily enough, neither can I. It's a hairpiece, isn't it? It is! It is! A bright red hairpiece! Oh, great. So the whole Red Hair Society comes back into play. And I suppose the fact that it's right there next to where the body was found means we have to accept that Inspector Gregson wore wigs, does it? And in such a flame-colored red, too. Yes, that's a color we've come across very recently elsewhere, isn't it? Exactly! This is a vital clue, I'm sure of it! And now for the gun. This is presumably the murder weapon, then. Oh my! It is real, I suppose. I think so. I've only held a gun once, and I was accused of murder because of it. Guns are so rare in Japan, I really know very little about them. There's one way to know for sure, Mr. Naruhodo. Fire a shot! Pop off a couple rounds! No, no, no! If I did that, I'd be looking for a skilled lawyer to represent me in court. And I can't find Kazuma anymore. Slightly safer to ask someone who might know, I think. So wait, what happens if I try to examine it? Oh, well, here we go. Hey, what's down the barrel here? I suppose this must have been the murder weapon. Oh my. Oh, are we having this conversation again? We are. Yes, we are. Well, now we have this. Oh, what's this? It would appear to be a little model policeman. It's rather charming, isn't it, in a way? Seeing as it's on the floor here, do you think it belonged to Inspector Gregson? It's a little hard to imagine Lord Van Zykes playing with something like this. It's only about 8 centimeters tall. Could have fallen out of someone's pocket, I suppose. I think we should record it as evidence, just in case. Yes, I agree. It is rather delightful, after all, in a way. Excuse me. Sorry, sir. Can't see a thing, sir. Too many tears, sir. Right. Perhaps I'd better leave you to join your work then. Excuse me. If you're looking down on us from the great beyond, Inspector, don't worry. We'll look after things at the yard. I've interrupted some deep thoughts here. The top of one of the candles in this candle holder has been completely blown off. Yes, there's wax splatter on the wall behind. Look. I suppose if a bullet had hit it, it does seem likely that the bullet hit the candle, having first passed through the inspector's body. Now the wax on the floor looks like blood to me. Oh, it's a candelabrum! Excuse me. Oh, Inspector. Oh, sir. Poor man, he can't possibly be able to focus on investigating when he's so upset. Oh, it's a photograph stand. Suppose it must be a picture of one of the Inspector Gregson's family members. Ah. What's the matter? Your eyes look like they're about to pop out of your head. They are! Look! Mr. Naruhodo, quickly! It's that girl from before! It's juror number 2! I refuse to remember her name. Why do I feel like this woman is familiar somehow? Of course she's familiar! We only met her this morning! Oh! It's Mrs. Vigil! This makes no sense. Why would there be a picture of Mrs. Vigil here? To be frank, I don't think I've ever been more stumped. I'm sorry to say I have no idea either. But we're taking this photo. This looks like some sort of notice board or something. And it's absolutely covered in scraps of paper. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, look! This you mean? It's an autopsy report, isn't it? And there are case notes here, and details of prison inmates. Yes, in fact, they're all the sort of documents that only a detective would normally acquire. What on earth went on in this room? Some old newspaper cuttings. Ah, and this one here! Oh yes, the advertisement, you mean? To the Red-Headed League. But why? What's that doing here? Whoever occupied this room is clearly interested in it for some reason. An empty fireplace makes the room feel even colder than it would be otherwise, doesn't it? It's thick with dust, look. I think it would be fair to say it hasn't been used in a very long time. In other words, whoever lived in this room must have been extremely hardy in cold weather, or nobody lived here at all and merely visited when the occasion arose. I wouldn't like to say which is more likely. No, that's right. It's one or the other. Okay, who drew this chalk outline? Can barely tell a person was here. So I suppose this is where the victim... That's right. The rope is laid around the body to show exactly how he's found. Inspector Gregson himself has already been taken away. He would probably be under Dr. Syde's scalpel by now, if not for what happened last week. From the shape of the rope, it would appear that the inspector was curled up in a ball. Ah, what a way to go. Are you feeling alright, Mr. Naruhodo? You look like you've just seen a ghost. I know it's just a rope, but, well, it conjures up quite a terrifying image, that's all. Especially with that bloodstain next to it. Oh, I do understand. In some ways, what we picture in our minds can be even worse than reality. Sazon is so strong, though. She's taking this far better than I am. I'm a little baby boy. Alright, Gina. I've run out of stuff. Gina, what was Inspector Gregson doing here in the first place? That's what I want to know! It's what, half a year since I got out of the clink? That's when I decided to give up my dive and become a detective instead. Oh yes, Mr. Sholmes twisted the inspector's arm to agree to take you on as an apprentice, didn't he? Something like that, I think. Anyway, point is, I didn't really know much about the boss till then. But as it turns out, he's a bit of a legend at the yard. Goodness, really? They say he managed to solve a really tricky case, just like that. He did? Yep, and ever since then it's started going about all sorts of investigations, but always on its own. No one else at the yard even knows what the case is working on at all, apparently. That's not how it's supposed to work, is it? So what was the legendary inspector doing in a dingy little room here like this? You know, he had a lot of respect for the Reaper and all. And look where it landed him! Respect for the Reaper? In what way? I didn't say as much. I take my hat off to that fella, was the words. Not how the general public feels, is it? Most people are terrified of the Reaper. Yeah, the boss said that's exactly why he's respected the bloke. I didn't realize Gregson held the Reaper in quite such high regard. He says something else to me and all. I didn't need to worry about the Reaper, cause he was only goes after the people what are bad. Did kinda set my mind at ease when he said that. Right. What is this place then? Does anyone live here? Apparently it's being run by some cove called Hugh Boone. Hugh Boone. Hugh Boone. That's a sort of here today, gone tomorrow name, that, isn't it? Yeah, what we call an unidentified person. We haven't been able to get in touch with him. I see. Well, judging from appearances, I have to say this place hasn't been lived in for a long time, if ever. Right! All lads from the yard piled down here to get stuck into the investigation. There's so little here, no one knew what to do with themselves. I do wonder. Yes, Mr. Sato? Well, could it be that this Hugh Boone? I keep wanting to say Bone. There are two O's there. Is in fact Inspector Gregson himself? What? How could that be? Well, if he was investigating on his own, it's quite possible that this was in fact some kind of secret office of his. I'd never even considered that. Nice work, Suze! Well, we're really following a line of inquiry that ourselves. You are? If you look around the room, you'd see. There's a few things that hint at it. We should really investigate this place in detail. We already did that. Screw that. I see that's where the poor inspector was found over there. Yeah, that's right. They said it was a single bullet what did him in. Apparently the bullet went right through him and struck the candle tree on the wall. That's a really high-angled shot. Oh yes, it's blown one of the candles apart completely. And the gun used there on the floor. It's the Reaper's, isn't it? No denying that. What? Really? How do you know that? Take it easy! I don't know what to do with myself when you stare at me with them big white eyes. I'm only saying what I heard. I don't know much about guns myself. There's some bigwig lawman over whatever said so. Why you ask him? A bigwig lawman, is it? Anyway, Fresno Street runs along under that window there. There were some street sellers just outside who heard the gunshot. Oh, but I don't recall seeing anybody outside. Yeah, they've all been taken down to the yard for questioning, that's why. Talking about the yard's legendary inspector here, that's all. They'll be getting a grilling. Do you think we might be able to speak with those street sellers ourselves? I doubt it. Lads at the yard would just want to know what you're snooping around for and what you're grilling and all. So we can't interview the witnesses then. Shame. Well, when have you ever had that chance, man? Alright, well, there's some big lawman. I'm thinking that's pointing us to here. You've made good time. I took an express train back to London. I can hear Lord Strongheart, can you? Yes, it sounds as though he's talking to someone. Oh, well, thanks. Is everything in place? Hold on, they conflated Cosmo with Lord Strongheart's voice there. I had a private compartment on the train so I could check all the paperwork. It's... Kazuma-sama! Ah, your timing is impeccable. It is? No doubt you have heard the sickening news about the Reaper's latest devilry. Yes. I'm sure you don't believe it, of course, though, Lord Strongheart. That Lord Van Zykes could have done such a thing to Inspector Gregson. I believe only in the facts. And the facts in this case point to one thing. The unavoidable accusal of Lord Van Zykes for this crime. We must bring charges against the Reaper for taking the life of our legendary detective. Oh no, surely not! It's a truly regrettable situation. Tomorrow the forensic... This finally begins. At the very least, though, we can show the world our justice system's swift and equitable processes. So does that mean the trial is tomorrow? Precisely. In fact, this is a fine opportunity for introductions. You're looking good, Kazuma. Hold on. I think I might be getting close to a thumbnail here. Oh, Protoss, thank you for the 58-month resub. Just in case. Oh wait, I guess that means the thumbnail would be a bunch of spoilers, wouldn't it? I'll have to rethink that. Ah, but of course, you're already acquainted, aren't you? Mr. Asogi here will be present at tomorrow's proceedings. As the prosecutor? Leading the prosecution. Oh. Friends become foes. Now we are truly in the Japanese game. Wait. What? Kazuma. As I'm sure you're aware, he's a very capable practitioner of law. Kazuma-sama, a prosecutor? Look at you just leering at me from back there. Well, let's talk to you first. I'm sure you can imagine that tomorrow's trial will be closely followed all over London. In fact, no, people all over the Empire will be watching closely to see how it unfolds. There's no salvation for anyone in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper of the Bailey, and now, the Reaper himself must stand in the dock. Quite so. The public wants answers about the Reaper. Answers about how and why those who escaped conviction subsequently died mysterious deaths. But Lord Van Zykes firmly denies any involvement in such matters. And there have been thorough investigations that have proven him to be innocent. That's certainly true. Or it has been, at least, until now. Ah! No, tomorrow's trial will mark the start of a new chapter in our country's great judicial history. Oh, don't call that a chastity belt. Now I can't get that thought out of my mind. But it does look like he took that sword back, so maybe I should have changed outfits before the trial. So, Cosmo will be prosecuting tomorrow? That's right. But he's a defense lawyer, Lord Strongheart. Accomplished young law practitioners cannot pick and choose their roles. And imagine what it will mean for the prosecution to know the strategies commonly employed by the defense. A devastating combination. Wouldn't you agree? Absolutely. I have no doubt at all that Cosmo will be razor sharp as a prosecutor. But why Kazuma-sama? There are surely many other highly skilled prosecutors in Great Britain. It was a personal request. I asked to be assigned to the trial. You asked for this? But why? It'll all become clear tomorrow. I'm guessing you intend to stand for the defense, don't you? Although, the Reaper appears to be turning down all offers of representation. I'm surprised such a personal request would have been upheld. It seems unprecedented. Quite exceptional, in fact. You're quite right, Miss Migatoba. Tomorrow's trial will be unprecedented and exceptional in every way. After all, the accused is one of Britain's greatest prosecutors, the pride of the Empire. It would be unwise to give the public a reason to perceive it as judiciary closing ranks. So that's why you're happy to let a foreigner handle the prosecution? Ryanosuke. Let's see how your skills have been honed after practicing law in this land for so many months. Kazuma, I don't understand why you're being so hostile to me now. This isn't going to end well, my friend. I now despise the Nipponese! Oh yes. We noticed there was a gun at the scene of the Inspector Gregson's death. Do you know if it belongs to Lord Van Zykes? It would be a question for the lead detective investigating the scene. Well, the thing is, she wasn't sure, so she told me I should ask somebody higher up who might know. That's right, Mr. Naruhodo, but be direct. It's certainly a model that's issued to all personnel involved in law enforcement, yes. Which includes prosecutors, as I'm sure you can imagine. In that case, it could actually belong to the victim. No, Gregson had his gun on his person. What about Lord Van Zykes? He claims it's currently not in his possession. What? According to his story, he lost it. In short, it's more than a little suspicious. Lord Van Zykes is sus. But just because the gun in question is the same type as the defendant's is no proof that it's actually his. No, of course not. Nevertheless, the situation is grave for Lord Van Zykes. Alright, Kazuma-sama, you got some explaining to do. I'm sorry for all the worry I've caused you, but it'll be alright now. Has your memory completely returned? Yes, completely. I remember everything. Including what I was coming here to do. Right. Kazuma-sama. I can't tell you how happy I am to see you alive and well like this. But how did you come to be here in London when you were suffering from amnesia? It was the voice. This past year, I've been hearing it in my head constantly, saying the same thing over and over. Go to London. That's where your destiny awaits. For some reason, it was the voice of Nolan North. It was that voice that guided me here to London. I'm so sorry for what's happened. Anyway, my memory might have returned to me, but there's something that won't return to the way it was before. Huh? What do you mean? I'm a prosecutor now, so I'm sure our paths will cross again very yeah, no, we just had that conversation. We had to have that conversation. Why did you phrase it like that? It doesn't look like we're going to glean much more here. Well, thank you very much, Lord Strongheart. Remember, tomorrow's trial will go down in our Empire's history. There's much you could learn from the public gallery. Is that a threat, bitch? I'm sorry I've taken so much of your time. We'll see ourselves out.
Hold it!
Before you go, Ryunosuke! Oh, what is it, Kazuma? I just wanted to thank you. Kazuma-sama, what? You took my determination to heart and brought it to you, and brought it with you over the ocean in my stead. And you carried out my role to perfection. You always were intent on studying British law in order to change our own justice system. It was your dream, and Mr. Naruhodo didn't want that to die with you. Yes, but I had another purpose for coming here. Oh! I actually have a favor to ask. No, wait, you're British now. I have a favor to ask. Which is? This trial I'll be prosecuting tomorrow. I'd like you to be there to see how it ends. Right in front of me, as the defense counsel. He's grabbing his sword! Why? What's this all about? I know you have what it takes. But Lord Van Sykes would never put his fate in my hands. My Nipponese hands! On the contrary, he recognizes your talent. He does? It's not easy to see behind the facade sometimes. Here, have a look at this. That's Lord Van Sykes and Inspector Gregson. In a photograph that must have been taken some time ago, by the look of it. He's smiling. And who's the third person? You already know who the third person is. You played the last episode. It was displayed very prominently in the detective's office. In Gregson's office, you mean? Yes. What I'm trying to say is, if you really think you can trust the Reaper, you might find that some straight talking makes him take a different view. Take it. I don't understand. Why are you giving me this? Just hurry, Ryunosuke! Visiting hours at the prison are almost over. What are you doing, Kazuma? Now get the hell out. Lord Van Sykes is still reading that letter. We've been gone for 3 hours, Susato. Oh no. He's either rereading it so many times or he's gone blind. It's only those two options. We've been gone quite some time, though. Either he's an incredibly slow reader or it's an incredibly long letter. I might even be able to read English faster than he can. I can hear you! I was intending to ignore you entirely. But I can't turn a deaf ear to such an insulting Nipponese! Oh, sorry. I didn't think you'd hear that. I had the case notes brought to me in secret. I was reading them to pass the time. Yes, we heard that your trial is set for tomorrow. Which is none of your business. So have you found a lawyer? How many times must I reiterate the same thing? This has nothing to do with you. In other words, no. You were just talking to Lord Strongheart and the prosecutor for your trial has been decided. I expect nothing less, though I have no idea who it is. It's going to be Kazuma Asogi. Duh! Asogi? So I will be put to death by a Nipponese? Oh, it has come full circle. That made the color drain from his face. Well then. It seems I'm going to have to engage in conversation with you again after all. 10 years ago, my older brother, who was the director of prosecutions at the time, was murdered. And the killer, as you know, was a visiting student from the Far East. Not a single day goes by that I don't curse the name Asogi! Genshin Asogi is Kazuma-sama's father. So what cruel twist of fate is this now, 10 years later? The man's son is to crucify me in some kangaroo court! I still understand why Lord Strongheart apprenticed Kazuma to you. It's what he does. No doubt he knew of the young man's true identity from the outset. What could he be hoping to achieve? Let's not forget that it was only 8 days ago that Kazuma recovered from his amnesia. Why would Lord Strongheart assign this trial to somebody like that? Asogi. That name is the very epitome of my bane. The bane that is you Nipponese! Right, your hatred of all us Japanese. Let's finally go into that, shall we? Why are you so racist? I'd only just been appointed as a prosecutor when it happened 10 years ago. My brother Clint, the director of prosecutions, was hunting down the mass murderer. The so-called professor? Assigned to the investigation as his partner was a certain visiting student dispatched from Scotland Yard. And that was Genshin Asogi. Exactly. I developed a deep respect for the man. He seemed noble-minded and chivalrous in the extreme to me. But none of us saw the true nature of the man. Ooh, geez, what's this? Hold on. Isn't this his theme, just like in a chiptune? It's like you've switched out the pipe organ for the xylophone. Huh. Neat. So I lost everything when it happened. My esteemed brother, the people I believed in, and any semblance of right prevailing over wrong. Oh, how awful. To avenge my brother, I prosecuted Asogi's trial. It wouldn't ordinarily have been allowed, but I beleaguered the ascribed prosecutor until he consented. I then sucked his essence out! What do you mean by the ascribed prosecutor? The man in charge of the Professor Case inquiry, Lord Mayor Strongheart. Wait, what? Lord Strongheart? He was a highly accomplished prosecutor, but he agreed to relinquish the trial to me and act as my advisor instead. Since that time, he's the one person who I'm felt indebted. I'm sure he must have seen your zeal for the case and recognized your potential as a prosecutor. believe, eh? Time passed, but then earlier this year, who shall arrive in London but you? Huh? And of all things, as a lawyer. I felt your animosity the first time I ever faced you in the courtroom. Your obvious deep loathing of us Japanese. I kept telling myself it was illogical. But for so many years, that hatred had festered inside me. I could no longer control it. And I understand why. Now I know the history. But in the same way that I've long felt the Nipponese to be the bane of my life. To Kazuma Asogi, I'm the bane of his. The Reaper who sent his father to the gallows. He's looking for revenge, and he intends to take it in court tomorrow. What happened? Does anything even change if I were to present the photo now? Lord Van Zykes, we came by this old photograph. Ah! Where did you get that? It was taken when I became a qualified prosecutor. It's almost unbelievable. I assumed it was one lost. Is the man on the left there? Yes, that's my brother, Clint. Oh, we needed that confirmed. We couldn't just remember. Got it. Jeez. It had to be, really. Yeah! Apparently, this picture was prominently displayed in Gregson's office. He had a deep respect for you, you know. Were you aware of that? Respect? That's nonsense! You know, we've heard someone attest to it very clearly. Inspector Gino Lestrade, no less. Well, maybe once, yes. There was a time things were like that. We were brothers in arms, jovially discussing the future of justice and other such lofty subject matter. That was a nice glimpse of the past. I thank you. Yeah, the music really makes you feel that. I feel as though I got a nice glimpse of the past then, too. There was a glimmer of light in his eyes, a brief twinkle. An insight into the true nature of this man, known to all as the stone-cold Reaper of the Bailey. Gregson's transfer to the Paris Police Prefecture had finally been arranged for the coming month. He'll never make it to France now. It's a tragedy. Well, I mean, if you cremate him, you can get his ashes over there. Spread them over Normandy. Oh yes, come to think of it, he did mention something like that, about that, didn't he? I wonder, does it happen often? Being transferred internationally, I mean. It's the first time I've ever encountered it. Oh! The Paris police welcoming an English detective is almost inconceivable. I can't imagine what kind of magic Gregson must have worked to put that arrangement in place. It sounds like that mystery, that even the... it sounds like that mystery has even the Reaper perplexed. Hey! I can read. I'm afraid to say that we were very ignorant about Inspector Gregson's standing. We hear that he was considered something of a legend at Scotland Yard. Again, it was 10 years ago that he first made a name for himself. By uncovering a decisive piece of evidence that exposed the professor's identity. It wasn't for Gregson's singular approach to the case, the discovery would have never been made. What sort of approach? After my brother's life was taken, the inspector pushed for a full autopsy. Oh my, 10 years ago? Why is that so surprising? Autopsy was considered the desecration of the body at the time and rarely performed. And my brother was of course a noble, that made the idea of it even more unthinkable. But something Gregson had dug up in his investigations made him determined it was necessary. His powerful conviction somehow influenced the House of Lords, and as a result, I could avenge my brother's death. So you must have had great confidence in the inspector's abilities then. And it's even more inconceivable that you would have taken his life. Inspector Gregson. About the gun used to shoot the inspector that was found at the scene. Yes, that's not mine. Really? Because common opinion seems to be that it is. By common opinion, I mean Lord Strongheart. What do you expect me to say to that? Lord Strongheart informs us that you claim to have misplaced your firearm. That's hella sus. As embarrassing as it is, I'm afraid it's true. When did you lose it then? That, I don't know. Oh! I was issued with a revolver when I first became a prosecutor 10 years ago. I must have stolen it somewhere, I suppose. Or left it somewhere, perhaps. It has something in common with Lord Van Zykes after all, Mr. Narhodo. A talent for misplacing things. No, this has nothing to do with me. Don't drag me into it. Don't make the mistake me associating with this Nipponese! Oh dear. The rift is very wide, isn't it? So it's not decisive evidence, clearly. It doesn't look good, that's for sure. Mr. Naruhodo. Oh! That's the first time he's ever used my actual name. I've lost all confidence in my country's justice system. I don't trust the police, the judiciary, or lawyers. But there's still one thing I'm willing to believe in. What's that? That which you see in the eyes of another across the courtroom. A simple determination to know the truth. Lord Van Zykes. From the very first time we clashed in the Bailey almost a year ago now, I couldn't deny it, even though I dearly wished I could. Here is a loathsome Nipponese, who has absolute integrity as a lawyer. There are only two other men I've known with the same look in their eyes. My brother, Clint, and King Shinasogi. The man he idolized and the man who betrayed his trust in the most hideous way. Then you showed me that photograph just now. It reminded me. You mean this photograph? Back then I was able to laugh. I was free of the shackles and mistrust that plague me now. I could walk in sunlight and not burn. I looked to the future with hope. Since then I protected myself against betrayal by refusing to trust anyone. But at times, the mire into which I've sunk makes it almost impossible to breathe. I'm so sorry. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I want to believe in that look in your eyes. I need to believe in it. In tomorrow's trial, will you advocate for me? I do! I mean, I will! Of course I will. It would be an honor. I'm so pleased, Mr. Naruhodo. Then my life is in your hands. But no hallowed chalice is at the defense bench. Oh, come on! For Lord Van Zykes, that must have been an incredibly hard thing to ask. Which is why I simply cannot let the man down. tomorrow in the Old Bailey against my old friend, Kazuma. There we go. Wow, I am actually glad I saved when I did last time. I could not have gone another hour last week. But it's only been an hour. Let's keep going. Let me just save my progress. Actually, you know what? Before I continue, I will grab a drink because my throat is feeling a little bit scratchy. So let me go ahead and save here. And then everyone take a little break. Go wash up, stand up for a little bit, stretch your legs. I'll be right back. Alright, back. Sorry about that. Took longer than I thought. Oh, hello, Terrazine Terror. Yes, I hope you were standing in the British way. There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no. It's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. There is a menacing tension in the air today, isn't there, I suppose? Yes, I think so. Didn't you hear my inner monologue? I thought you could read my thoughts. Can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. However, you are certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details, however. I understand that no jury has been selected. A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago. Oh, wow. That has interesting implications. In closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows! Oh, his hair color's back to normal. Mr. Sholmes! Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Ha! What one man is a little hair problem is to another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning! Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you look so full of vim. And by you, I see London celebrate the great detective as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow, compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases. The Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. Yeah, finally, a trial without a disqualified jury, and it's a trial with no jury at all! And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you. Without an honor, and that would be your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Duh. Mr. Sholmes! After all, behind this lawyer is a very great mind, my own. What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sort of Bargin. Oh, I don't know who this is. Is it Gina? Fuck! I have such a deep loathing for this character, only because I suck at acting in her stead. Gina! What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose. Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? The fizz... It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. She'll be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. If you fail this trial, our country will be bankrupt. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Ooh, huh, hold on. I'm screen capping that. Phrasing, Naruhodo. That's right, don't say anything. Damn it. Otto? Yes, Gina? Why'd you agree to this, eh? Why'd you take him on? This Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was him what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if you weren't him, who was it? I don't know that yet, but because I can't get a client off without finding someone else guilty, I guess I'm gonna have to do that too. Fucking hate this justice system. I don't care who calls him what, the Reaper's just a name. He's a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. Eh? At least that may be some solace to the deceased. Please, Otto! Get whoever did this for the boss! Oh, Gina. I ain't feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do! So you gotta find who done this and make the wretch pay! Oh, good. I'm only a defense lawyer, also a detective, also a prosecutor. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way into the courtroom at once, please. Oh, they even asked please. You got something against penal substitution, Quinn? I have a lot of things against a lot of people. Alright then, here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Van Zykes. I gave that the wrong infliction. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. And Santa Claus. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all these dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, this asshole has some explaining to do. And we're gonna have to look it straight in the eye. Its beautiful hazel eyes. Hey, Whitey! Ho, ho, ho! In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. You're here to conduct the fair and just trial of the defendant, Barrack Van Zykes. Honor, move for a mistrial. There is no jury present. How can my client expect a fair and impartial jury to... Oh, wait, that's right. Wrong country. Fuck. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin? The defense is ready, my lord. Well, gee, I'm so used to doing Van Zyk's voice for that. The prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma-sama. been wishing to see you in court again for so long. It feels... But I never pictured it happening like this. And now I don't even have my sword. Oh, I'm sorry, your sword. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today, we must uncover the truth behind this scourge. No, we have to find out who killed Inspector Gregson. No more, no less. In fact, honestly, I could do with a little less. We just need to prove that he didn't do it. In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder, for some fucking reason. The truth revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions throughout the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial, with no members of the public present. Lord Strongheart told me yesterday I should have watched in the public gallery. So, fuck you, I guess. By Her Majesty's direct orders. Ooh, the Queen's getting involved. How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. She'll be getting more than coal today. Therefore, as you will see, the juror's bench shall remain vacant today. If no members of the public are present, who are these fuckers in the gallery? Especially that one back there with the top hat, clearly blocking someone else's view. They are members of the judiciary, here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial. You can't see what I'm doing right now, but I'm moving my hand quickly up and down. Members of the judiciary. Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already. There is of course another unprecedented aspect of these proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain. They're here to probe our justice system! I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain. This is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Cosma. Very well, let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Asogi, your opening statement, if you please. Certainly, my lord. Man, I haven't done his voice in so long with at least so many different inflections. Rienosuke. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on 1st November, just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street, on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property. Yes. Inspector Tobias Gregson, no name known very well indeed in this court. Oh, Lord. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this oh my god. I'm falling apart at the seams. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest. God, I'll just power through it, Quinn. Cases 10 years ago. Oh dear, who spiked my Sonic cup? The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all have reported the same time. Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There were a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly. How has the range been determined? There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. The powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happened when the target is at point-blank range. I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel. Not really an opening statement, more a first factual, statement. I wanted to use another word than statement, but could not find it. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm? No, my lord, not conclusively. Bravo, Kazuma-sama. We're not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Provenance can't be proven. And I'm the one making redundant statements. Furthermore, my lord, as I explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There is a candelabra mounted on that wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yes, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of this crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please. As you wish, my lord. Is this Fresno Street Room Inspector Gregson's private abode? Or Adobe? No, my lord. The room is rented to Mr. Hugh Boone. But there is precious little furniture inside, and it's generally in the poor shape of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably he was investigating some case or other. When the policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing on alongside, holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. So, the details of the case are clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. The name, please, counsel. Naturally, the accused himself. Lord Van Zykes? As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken and will be compelled to tell the truth. Aside from, the oath he takes when he would take the stand as a witness. Sure, whatever. Very well, let the defendant take the witness stand. Hi. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Barak Van Zykes, Old Bailey prosecutor. I presume, Lord Van Zykes, that you heard Prosecutor Asogi's opening précis. I did. It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. Then I'm only sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question. And what exactly took place. I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord Van Zykes, I never imagined this day would come. I'm noticing my judge voice and my Cosmo voice are pretty much the same. So let's just imagine Cosmo's grandfather is Santa Claus. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Fuck you, my lord. Your formal testimony then, witness. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard the man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. The fuck? That testimony was the whole truth? It was. So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right. You haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would have barely qualified as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asogi. It would appear to be a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't the word, it's laughable! What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. Don't water your eyes again, Susato. We don't need waterworks. Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Well, that whole thing is a whole bunch of shit, so I might as well start pressing from the start. Oh, they even changed the cross-examination. I like that.
Hold it!
Yeah, get ready to hear that a lot today. You were investigating the inspector? What on earth for? I'm not at liberty to say. Sorry? I'd identified the distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene? No, I was privy to his movements in advance. How? I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted at the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office? In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Was not the case, Lord Van Sykes? I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim. And yet, you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Right to remain silent. Which isn't a British right, but, you know. Or rather, not a right at the time. Why'd I ever think I could defend this man?
Hold it!
Had you ever been to this address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. But at 5 p.m. the sun would only have just gone down. It would still have been reasonably light outside. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain. Look, Mr. Arhodo. There is a small desk in the room just here. Yes, I remember. And there was an oil lamp on it, as well as a framed photograph. Then I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate. And what did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk.
Hold it!
So who fired the gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room. But you say it was very dark in there? Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is I didn't sense another's presence. Aha! Then it could be that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room. No, that's out of the question. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. Ugh, this is going from bad to worse. And you say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor? Your short-circuiting aside, correct. I foolishly picked it up. That was the carelessness on my part. Presumably, then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. The point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. What? The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent gunpowder. But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired? Thus, I would like to oblige you with an answer. I'm afraid I can't. I, too, would dearly like to know that. Ugh.
Hold it!
A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without a thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process. But you're supposed to be the Reaper! The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion, and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man streamed to my attention in that direction. Whoops, excuse me. It was on the crest. What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear? I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was. Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim fall into the ground just beforehand? At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first, nothing more. I see. After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed, or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere. I have no idea.
Objection!
Surely the court has heard enough! My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Baruch Van Zykes, is lying on multiple fronts! Oh shit, what's this? Dance break! Alright. What is that supposed to mean? Good gracious, counsel! The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything? If you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it has been blown off by a powerful impact. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long. We could reasonably just expect someone to have lit all three candles together, which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. That must be because that particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. Ah! That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other two candles would still have been burning, so the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accused claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts the facts. Duh. And now to the next lie. There's more? The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right. We saw that too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they include a number of reports from various historical cases. The oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. And there is a common thread linking all of the documents on that board. Indeed. What is this common thread, counsel? They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Barak Van Zykes. All of them? And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Good lord! Interestingly, none of those defendants were alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Ah! Oh no. In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations. The Reaper's hideout? And yet the Reaper would claim to never have been in his own secret hideout. No one would believe that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, counsel. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine. By the Reaper's hand! What?! Order! 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 Very well, I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Barak Van Zykes is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Sodi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. All I have done is state the truth as I know it. Kasim has done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case, and it's formidable. Counsel, you will submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it is to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. And now, the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. But before you do that, let's go ahead and take a look at this board. There's something behind the board! Oh, what's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look! Oh yes, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks like just like a handprint. And the color. It's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing. Well, what's on the front? There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age. Look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same Red-Headed League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. And do you remember there was a red hairpiece at the scene, too? Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the Red-Headed League, then? I've always wondered what the underside of a hairpiece looks like. That doesn't surprise me at all, Mr. Naruhodo. You always want to see what lies beneath, don't you? I'm not sure that's quite how I put it. You must have to use lots of bird lime. Wow. You must have to use lots of bird lime to keep it in place in your head, so it doesn't get blown off in a gust of wind, I mean. That might be a little inconvenient when you wanted to take it off again, don't you think? The helmet of this charming policeman appears to be a little worse for wear. I'm not convinced about the charming part, but yes, you're right. The head part looks like it's been fairly heavily manhandled. Almost as if somebody has enjoyed twisting it around and around for fun. Shall we try twisting it around and around too, for fun? Oh shit! What's that? It appears to be some sort of key. But it's tiny, though. It couldn't be a key for a door. Not that size. So what's it for, I wonder? That key could have come out of a much more fun position, but alright. Yeah, we already established that. Okay, so clearly it's like, get a guy who knows guns. Someone who knows guns needs to look at this stuff. Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. Very well, lead the witnesses in! The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. What the heck? Beppo! So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. What the hell is going on with this guy? There's a tumor in your lip. You need to get that checked out. Now, how the hell am I going to do this? Names? We don't use names. Far too fancy for the likes of us. We're just free and easy. Sell what we like and live where we want to live. I'll give them all my vacant shares. They walk down Fresno and spin a few words to a verse for them. Duh. Would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street? Hey, everyone calls me gossip! Okay, hold on. This is our thumbnail. There, found it. Everyone calls me gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passers-by, you know. Jaunty little tidbits? Titbits? Got an absolute smasher for you, so right up your ginnel it is. 6p is the price and not a penny less. Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now? Oh, come on, sir, don't tell me you're not interested. Try the man. Give him the money and see what it is. Pay the man, counsel. Alright, 6p it is. You won't regret it, sir, now you got your listening ears on. Just between us, a young couple on Slut Street had just had twins. Is that it? Oh, he flicks it too. No, that's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? Wants to spread. That bit's up to you and your mouth, of course. I've got more, you know. Want another juicy one? 6p a piece it is, if you're curious. I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, that unusual bruise, whatever that is, that's poking out from under your collar. What about the next witness, then? What name do you go by, and what do you sell? May, I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, isn't it? I sell these lovely little fireworks to the local school kids. Wow. She struck that match on her butt. How coarse is her dress? 6p a pop, what do you say? You weren't exaggerating with little. Do they actually sell? Oh yeah, the second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them they get 100, could blow. Tell them that if they get 100, they can blow up the school. Not the most savory of ideas, young lady. What do you say then, eh? Want to part with 6p for a pop? Wait, what? You want me to buy one? Tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you can blow up the whole courtroom. Try the woman. Give her money and see if she's right. Pay the woman, counsel. Alright, I'll buy one. Lovely stuff, right then. This is something extra just for you. The Venus special, only 600p. 600? It's 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there? And there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey, either. Oh, good! And the last witness. What name do you go by and what do you sell? I'm the thinker, mate. I think all sorts of thoughts here. The think, therefore I am, therefore I think. Because I stand there on the street watching the world go on about me and they call me the Observador. Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you Sandwich and you know it. So you don't actually sell anything? Problem shared is the problem halved, as they say. I get advice, they do. Well, I think what it means. I don't actually sell anything now, come to think of it. Pity. No more purchases today, please. Well, we have quite a cast here, it seems. They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning till night, my lord. And always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. I see. And thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose. Only that, but they very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witnessed the crime.
Well, I'll be begging, I thought, just between us.
Venus de Milo, what did I do? What a terrible thing I saw.
But what I think is, if we all will see the light and shadow playing with our eyes, is any of it real?
Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these 3 witnesses now. It will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident.
We saw the whole thing from start to finish. We did. Everything from the moment they went in the building.
It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that all we heard a big bang.
Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't go and see what happened. I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
I was scared half to death, so I ran off to find a copper. If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building? Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Barak Van Zykes.
Wait, I've seen pictures of that Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folk love stories like this. I made myself a tiny sum already.
But wait, the court was just one of several flats in the building. The room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied.
Of course they are. They're small, damp, dirty, and expensive to boot.
The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased. And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone. The testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see just how many people other than the defendant could have committed the crime. No! Thank you for your candor, my lord. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses. Yes, my lord. In a closed court like this, without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down this testimony. Somehow. Cross-examination. Well, let's start with the beginning. When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord Van Zykes?
I suppose so. The likes of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. But I tell you one thing, it was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain.
Just behind Inspector Gregson? Did they arrive at the same time as each other?
No, not at all. The first fella must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before I heard the gunshot.
The victim arrived 15 minutes before. Are you sure about that?
Am I sure? Does it seem likely that I've forgotten a fellow with bright red hair like that, does it?
Yeah, his hair really were red, weren't it? Redder than any of my flaming fireworks, even.
That fiery red mop still burnt on the inside of my eyelids, it is.
Wait a minute. You're saying the man was a redhead?
What you listening, chum? Oh, he was a redhead, and we had a big trunk with him as well.
But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red. Not by any stretch of the imagination. It seems likely that the person you saw wasn't, in fact, Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct. What? Oh god, I haven't even gotten a full look. Oh god, Gregson, you did not die well. Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Yes, that's Inspector Gregson, all right. And a red hairpiece. Ah! Of course, we saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. So then why on earth would he have been wearing something like that? Well, color does seem to suit the man, one might say. A photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, counsel. Okay, hold on. Stop the presses. Stop everything. Probably can't use that as a thumbnail, but I can't let that go by. Looks like an older Ron Weasley. And what became of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying? I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene. So it just disappeared?
What, did you expect us to have been watching the building every second, do you?
No, stop, go back.
We definitely saw him in the dark going in, though, no question about that.
So we got the picture now. Okay. Do I want to press... Huh. Yeah, no, let's start with statement 2.
Hold it!
By which presumably you mean the gunshot? I sell these little things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? I keep forgetting my mouse wheel doesn't work on this. Well, I've always thought it was probably a bit like this, doesn't it? And you say that you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant here enter the building? That's right. It was almost straight away. Bang, it went. Just like that.
Well, he's the Reaper, isn't he? It's what the French call fait accompli.
No, he wouldn't call it that. He'd call it
Fait accompli. When the Reaper's around, people are going in the ground. I mean, that's what he does, isn't it?
I think we get the message. The Reaper couldn't allow the Inspector to live after he discovered his secret hideout. There can be no clear motive for the crime. Yes. It's certainly an eminently credible motive. Great. And at that point, you ran inside, is that correct? This is nothing. I'll press this one next.
Hold it!
So then you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that right?
That I was. Kicked the door open like a professional, I did, and yelled out, "What's going on here?"
Ah! Lord Van Sykes claimed all he heard was a man scream, though. And was it dark inside the room?
No, not dark at all. There are candles burning on the wall.
Really?
There was a fella collapsed on the floor. Just between us, it's the first thing I noticed when I got inside.
Ah, I see. Even though Lord Van Sykes claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall.
Next thing I noticed is someone standing right beside the body.
The accused, Beric Van Sykes?
That's right, the pale-faced Reaver himself. I was a little shocked, I don't deny it, but I'm no little coward. I stood my ground and gave that Reaper a cold, hard stare myself.
Liar! Beppo!
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich?
There's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am, just 2 slices with no middle. So I don't know what you would want with me.
I think that maybe you just remembered something. Having heard Mr. Gops' last statement, I mean.
What I think is, we're all nothings, really. Trying to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're nothing but street sellers. That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you a real sandwich.
Make you into a real sandwich. Between a gift and a threat.
When I saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside.
That's it?
Oh, you rotten beggar, I told you to keep that a secret. He screamed, he did. Screamed and scrambled off on all fours. That's what I wanted to say.
Mr. Gossip, is this true?
The floor was dead slippery, that's why. Planted my hand in a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yuck!
What? A pool of blood?
Well, listen here. Even when I was sprawled on the floor, I still kept giving the Reaper a cold, hard stare, and don't you forget it.
Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand?
I did. Oh, it happens to the rest of us at times, doesn't it? So I was scared, so I slipped over. We just keep it between us, can't we?
No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony. And now we have an explanation for why there was a woolly handprint on the notice board.
Oh, if I must.
The witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once. This is not true. You wiped it off on the notice board.
Objection!
So you wiped off the blood from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that?
Well, what else do you expect me to have done, eh? Does it really matter?
Objection!
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting? If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asogi. Oh. Certainly, there was no bloody handprint found on the floor. What are you trying to say? There was a handprint and blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board. Oh! Ah, yes, indeed. Indisputably a handprint in the distinctive color of blood. Color of blood, even.
Oh, you're dead right. That's my right hand. I know it anywhere.
Objection!
The witnesses very definitely testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant.
Objection!
What? You just said there weren't any found on the floor! Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to have ended up there. Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim, and in the upright position. Even if it had somehow been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time, it would have been a considerable distance from the body.
I fell over when I came across the body. I was basically right next to the corpse. I'm not on the other side of the room.
In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory. Yes, it is.
Huh?
There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it that you formulated a proper hypothesis, counsel. Regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene, I have, my lord. This discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by the board moving. Yeah. The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down.
Good gracious, so it is. If the witness had put his hand against the board, the finger should be pointing upwards. Wait, what? What does that tell us? It tells us one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as I previously suggested, which means that after the incident, it must have been moved.
Objection!
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting? Then tell the court who. Male Strongheart! I don't know that yet, but I suspect it's Male Strongheart. The point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point. And that would be the position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord. So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated? If it was in a pool of blood and he put his handprint on it, then it must have been here, falling that way. I mean, like, around here.
Take that!
This is the only possible location. Immediately adjacent to the doorway? If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see the body. Bayek! If the notice board had been here, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker. I'm not sure that's how light works, but okay.
Objection!
But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him. That's true. Or, in his precise words, blah 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 blah, I want to suck your blood. He said that, right? I don't know about calling it a scream, but we was talking about me and no mistake. 'Cause it was me that kicked the door open. If you look again at the floor plan, consider what would happen if the door to the room was thrown open with force. Bam. But that can't. The door struck the notice board, knocking it over, and making the victim's body visible. Good gracious! My client has told nothing but the truth. He has simply described what he saw. Duh! My amnesia. Order! Order! Counsel, how has this not come to light before now? After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleagues saw it when we went investigating the room. Witness, what do you have to say for yourself? What? Me, my lord? You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board. The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime. Hey, stop looking through your glasses at me. I get the message. The mystery of the moving board. That could be an episode in of itself. I didn't know anything about their notice board. I just wiped my hand on it, that's all. Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time. Oh, I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander. Me just a sign at the crossroads of life. It was the Reaper, I bet. He's got a face that screams bored. I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective is still died when we heard the gunshot.
So none of you could elaborate further. Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see. Oh, so now the room is dimly lit. Kazuma, way to flip on that. Your integrity is slipping, bitch. We can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened. That's right, yeah, I don't pay to expect too much. It doesn't pay. There we go. It's man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. That's what I think. Do you? Really? In any case, this testimony shows. Even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could possibly have committed this crime is Barak van Zykes. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact. Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witnesses despite the circumstances? Most certainly, my lord. Very well, then you may proceed, counsel. Cross-examination. Okay, so Venus, you're gonna have to explain yourself. So, did you even witness anything at all aside from the gunshot?
Hold it!
When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks? Yeah, what else? There's the Priory School just around the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have got a plan to blow their school to kingdom come. So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to. Oh, you have? Yeah, wouldn't want anyone to get hurt, so I let the school know the kids are playing with dodgy toys. Then, praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off them. Then, praise the Lord again, the kids all come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, see? What a racket. Of course, and sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life, selling explosives. Venus is a guileful goddess indeed. Well, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing, really. You're so good at it. Beppo knows better.
Excuse me.
Something wrong, Mr. Sandwich? Are we never going to address the fact that it's Beppo after getting fired? That's I feel sad if we don't talk about that.
If I said I was, could I just leave it all that? Could it be the end of it?
No. Did Miss Venus's statement just now bring something to mind, perhaps?
Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts.
Huh?
Let's say there was a great liar. And that great liar said, without batting an eye, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing. I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too? Or the truth? In which case, she's not a liar.
You're assuming liars must always lie.
Oh, it's a hellish paradox, that one, don't you think?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying, are you? What are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? Keep on like that. And I'll wrap your whole body in firecrackers and set them off. What did that? I'll give you something to tremble about. You have a startling, disturbing mind behind that sweet, innocent face, young lady. So, Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich?
Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Can you elaborate, please, sir?
Oh, but blabbermouth here, yes, and for the room where the gunshot seemed to come from. There was someone else who crept up the stairs behind him, too. That's right. That rotten liar over there.
Do you mean to say that you did in fact betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all? What did I tell you, eh? I said I was good at telling barefaced lies, didn't I? Yes, you mentioned it. Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it? Who knew firecrackers packed such a punch? So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief! Well, now that you come to mention it, I suppose perhaps... I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah. Either you clearly remember it or you don't. Well, I shall consider it a fitting punishment for this perjurous act later. Oh, good. That's two instances of perjury being mentioned, guys. 2. Put it on the board. It counts. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth. Oh, yes, my lord, of course. Maybe I did sneak along behind gossip and have a little peek in the courtroom, in the room where it all happened. Oh, no, go back. Yeah, no, so press this again. You make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus? Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. If you want my advice, though, I add everything I say with a big pinch of... I take everything I say with a big pinch of salt. Whoops, sorry. Hit my desk. I'm sure that sounded great on the mic. Alright, but you did in fact go to the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you? Oh, please, as if I would. Can't think of anything more terrifying. The truth, please. Well, alright, just a bit then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know. Did you touch anything of the scene? Oh, please, as if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor. The truth, please. Well, alright, just a bit then. I had a look to see if there was anything I could steal. Sell. So I did give the place a once-over, but there was nothing to write home about. Right. Now, I hesitate to ask, but you didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you? Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose chain all I had. The truth, please! Well, alright then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, flip the blasted thing. Ooh, that was a nice effect. You're telling us that you did move the board? I think that did slip out, didn't it? Can you disqualify key witnesses for being compulsive liars? Like, what if they're the only witness available? So, it's not a disqualification for a witness, even, like, lying's lying. The thing is, if you want to... If the witness is bad for you, you would point out the fact that they are a compulsive liar when they're giving their testimony. You can... It's not irrelevant to bring up a witness's past acts just to impugn their credibility. You can always attack a witness's credibility. Like, there are certain rules for certain witnesses, but if they're on the stand and they're trying to give evidence to an event, to give truth to an event that occurred. Sorry, I got wrapped up in hearsay terminology. They can still say it. It's just you then come back and say, how many times you've been convicted of perjury? And you wouldn't say, you wouldn't offer that up as evidence of the truth of the matter asserted, meaning I wouldn't say this person has a propensity to lie, therefore they're lying now, but I would bring up, so the jury had it in their mind when considering that person's testimony, that they've lied a lot. Which means, can you really trust them telling the truth now? So yeah, no, a witness is not immediately disqualified for being a compulsive liar, but you can attack the fact that they're a compulsive liar when they're giving their testimony. And if the jury doesn't trust what they're saying, then the jury probably doesn't care what they said. That's been your legal tidbit for the stream. I covered my bases 2.5 hours in. Hooray!
What? You deaf burnpipe? Oh, I don't believe it. The girl doesn't think.
Yes, it's a matter of discrediting the witness during their testimony. You can't say this witness can't take the stand because they're a liar. So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps, to sell? Oh, please, I should be so lucky. But my message, the truth now, please. I might have found this old pocket watch under the nose board, I suppose. But a bit of a jug like this won't be worth much if you ask. Ah! So it was you, was it? God damn it, Gina. Get back in the gallery. You're the one who was took it. Gina? Young lady, may I remind you where you are? That watch there. That was the present. That was the present to Inspector Gregson from the Yard for a big case he solved 10 years ago. The case 10 years ago never fails to be brought up. The professor case, no doubt. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for some grub to come up the pub. I see. I swiped it off him once. Blimey, he was upset. He gave me a right e-feel. Say he was Mr. Daddy in the last 10 years, polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him. That's what watch did. Possibly not the best thing to go diving for, then. It's not all that, though. Took it to Jibs that night. That's how much it was worth, but the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it. Set wasn't working. Knocked about and worthless, he called it. Oh! I knew I should have lifted it. That watch must be submitted as evidence at once. Oh, please, just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done. Not a chance. I'll swat it from you if you ever try to get your grub in its own again. That's enough. Hand the watch over to the bailiff forthwith. Now, children, watch your manners. Good Lord! The glass appears to be broken. More than likely, it shattered when the inspector was shot. It doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Jibs didn't want it. Jebbies didn't want it. What a waste, eh? Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. Exactly when the gunshot was heard, then. Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course. Well, it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved, at least. And as predicted, it had very little bearing on this case. Ugh. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel. Alright, hold on. Let me see that pocket watch. Oh, well, doesn't that look familiar? Oh, there's a tiny little keyhole here. Can you see? Oh, yes, that's probably for the winder used to wind up the mechanism. It looks a little unusual, don't you think? Yes, you need just the right key to wind it, I imagine. Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something a bit like a key that's used at the right size to fit this hole. It'd be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found. Oh, Lord. Go back to the police figurine. Oh, I have to twist its head again? Okay, yeah, now we inspect the key. Miss Susato, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch? Oh yes, it could be.
Let's try it at once. It's our moment to lose.
Phallic.
Hey! I knew it! A perfect fit. And look! The inspector's watch has started going again.
So it has obviously not been wound up. That's all. What is it, Mr. Zato?
Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications.
She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I'd better start thinking deeply too. So if it's no longer 5 p.m., we can no longer confirm that 5 p.m. was the time of death. Okay. Well, we know that isn't true. So okay, this has to do with timing. So what happens if I present this?
Objection!
Hey! I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh! At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. A key? And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. Duh! Order, 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 but counsel! The watch has stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock.
Yeah, which is just when we heard the gunshot. It is exactly the hour.
The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection!
Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. That's obviously when the crime was committed.
Objection!
No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago. Blah blah blah, something cockney, blah blah blah. The victim was in the habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day.
Oh, well, how do you explain it?
In summary, the evening before the day of the incident, when the gunshot rang out in that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch. You can't mean... That would stop a man... What would stop a man from winding his watch if he hasn't been... Fuck. Starting from the top. What would stop a man winding his watch if he's been in the habit of winding it every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead! Order! Order! Counsel, that is a most extraordinary claim! Extraordinary isn't the word. It's absurd! You claim he was already dead the night before? Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? Not what? Well, on that subject, there is something rather surprising. There's actually an omission in the coroner's report. The time of death is not noted. That's right! Wait a minute, you're forgetting my legs went for under me when I kicked the door in! What do you mean?
Like I said, I planted my hand in that dirty great puddle of blood.
Yes, so the victim's blood hadn't dried, it was fresh.
He catches on fast, doesn't he?
Objection!
But that blood could be explained in another of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Some fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body after he... Does my learned... Oh dear, no, because Cosmo's dropping it. Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? Duh! Well, it didn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. Duh! We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human. The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. That is beyond our abilities. Are? You're not Scotland Yard! So, then a chicken's blood could have been used, for example. It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all.
Objection!
But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock that afternoon. That's beyond question. Is it, though? What? Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, isn't it beyond the realm's possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all? Oh, please, what are you trying to say? As knows what we heard, we was a loud bang that came from their room. What the hell? You have a whip? Oh, that's right. You still have the whip from when you were driving the omnibus. No, you listen to me. A street seller's ears are his livelihood. I don't doubt your ears, sir. But all you can say with your certainty is that you heard a noise. Eh? Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot, but could have been made with... Hold on. Do I have to examine this? Let's examine this first before I have to lose a point because I didn't do the right thing first. Have you an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of a string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus Special. I'm wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But she said it could blow up the courtroom. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo, and I think you lost a finger. It sounded almost exactly like... Hey, there we go. So now we... Okay, cover that base. Back it up. Present.
Take that!
Something like this. The culprit could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot. Good gracious! The very fireworks that are sold by the witness? Now, hold on a minute. Are you saying I did it? My pretty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway. See? Not 100 of them together. The Venus Special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. Jesus! As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact. Dad! You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene? I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day, and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for these peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection!
But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. Whether it was a gun or a firecracker, the only person who could cause that bang was Barak Van Zykes. One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop. See? That's why people like them. I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Objection!
Oh, the candelabrum. Tie it to the candle. Oh, there you go. That would do it. Yep, nope, that just clicked. I got it. Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learned of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a time bomb. Good heavens! A bomb? Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like. Mr. Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident. No, wait. It's the whenever you like part that's important. A time device? Yes, exactly. A time device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left. Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a time device was employed to create the gunshot sound? And now we have... Nope, not that. There it is.
Take that!
As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off. Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet, which presumably passed to the victim. I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible? Why? Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. There are? Goodness, yes! Was it not the case? That there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound? That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun. Duh! Which means that the scorching on the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot. They're suggesting it came from the fireworks.
How can that be, eh?
The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, the candle and the firecrackers were joined together. Like that. The culprit somehow attached the fireworks at a point partway down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burnt down along with the other two, until eventually ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud Jesus! And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock. Well, what a plot! This implies the victim could have died earlier, that we've been led to believe. On the previous day, even.
Now, just hold your horses! All yous lot here saw the victim going into the building, remember? I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair even if I wanted to.
The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this.
Duh!
Obviously, anybody can wear a wig. So the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely, wearing the red hairpiece.
Someone else? Do you mean to say?
It was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer.
Ha 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 ha!
Oh, very impressive. Ryanovsky, Naruhodo.
Kazuma.
I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I also noted the lack of time of death in this report, a stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Why are you pointing at me then? Point at the judge.
Order! 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 Prosecutor Asogi! What on earth do you mean by that statement?
I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today, so we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's stopwatch is just conjecture. But, while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it. Well, certainly. I would agree with you. And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard. Even within the Yard! However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent what case the man was pursuing. Wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. Yes, I agree. Surely. My lord, the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector on the day prior to the incident? Remind me what that said exactly. Yeah, so he's dead. Whoever... For once, someone actually cares about the death of a redhead.
Take that!
I believe this red hair piece points to the answer. We might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not! Such a brightly colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League. The Red-Headed League? So, you've already worked it out. What on earth is this all about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen? Hey... The Red-Headed League is under investigation for a grand deception. A deception of what nature, counsel? They've been targeting red-headed men across all of London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once. 2 redheads? Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece. So it's very likely that he had direct contact with these criminals. And it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, it's another possible line of inquiry for us, at least. The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these 2 red-headed League conspirators before me, Prosecutor Asogi. At once, my lord. Very good. We'll have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned. Wait, sir, I think I need more than 30 minutes to find these. Court is adjourned, I said. Hey, well... Took an extra 46 minutes, but hey, that's a good portion of the trial done, I hope. Who knows? Go ahead and save this. Now we're back on track. Alright, guys. Gonna leave it there for tonight. Let's see. I know Nick was doing Tiny Tina's Wonderland. Is there anyone else to raid? Oh, even he's not online anymore. I don't have anyone on this list to raid. Oh no. I might just have to leave you guys hanging to go about your separate ways. I'm sorry. Blame Nick. He usually needs to stream longer than me. Alright guys. Well, I hope to see you all tomorrow. I'll be back with more exploits of Barth the Blue. Until then, I hope everyone has a good night. Toodles!